So let's talk about audience analysis in this model. If there's anything that has been consistent since we started discussing about content creation, we've mentioned audience a whole lot. I even went ahead to share that a well content strategy is one that finds balance between audience needs and content and personal objectives. And we've been talking about how important it is for you to create content that appeal to your target audience. You cannot remove audience analysis when it comes to creating content, whether you're a marketing professional or whether you're a content creator or whether you're someone who wants to learn the art of content creation. Having the kind of audience that you want to reach in mind would help you simplify the entire process a whole lot. So, let's start by giving a brief introduction of why it is important for you to understand your audience. Now, understanding your audience is the foundation of effective content creation. If you don't know who you are speaking to, your message may not connect. Now, this model focuses on identifying and analyzing your audience so your content is impactful and engaging. We've spoken about how that strategic content involves intentionality, and part of that intentionality also requires you to understand your audience. We also talked about consumer psychology in the past, right? Behavioral patterns of consumers generally. So also, when it comes to creating content, you need to be able to have like some form of audience, understand like have like some form of audience psychology, if that makes sense, right? You need to be able to tap into how your audience feel, what kind of content they like, the feedback that they are giving each time you put content out. All of these are important because you are not just creating for yourself, you are creating also for a people, right? Now, when it comes to defining your target sales audience, one thing you like we've already established, right? We've already established in the previous modules is that you have to ensure that your content connects deeply with the right that your content connects deeply with the right people, right? And without a clear understanding of your audience, your content risks being too broad, generic, or ineffective. So when you do not have the right audience in mind, your content will just be scattered, your content will just be everywhere, your content will just be ineffective. It might not give you the kind of results that you seek. Now, I also mentioned earlier that it's okay for you to start imperfect. It's okay for you if you do not understand your target audience when you start. But as time goes on, what happens is that refinement begins to happen, right? The process of refining begins to happen because you are now paying attention. Remember, the more you put out content, the more you're able to filter. There's a filtration process that happens once you start creating, and as you continue to create content, right? You begin to know your audience more. It's like a relationship, right? The first date might suck or it might be amazing, but what you cannot argue about is that the more dates you and your partner have, the more you understand them better. The more they may even become more relaxed, and the more they might, you know, become more real, right? I mean, everybody wants to give their best on the first date, or sometimes even first date sucks. But the most important thing is that if you keep going out with that person, you get to understand their needs, their wants, how they want to be communicated to, how they like to receive information. That is the same thing that happens when it comes to understanding your target audience, or when it comes to having a relationship with your target audience from the standpoint of understanding their needs and understanding the kind of content that would resonate with them. So there are ways for you can there are reasons why you need to define your target audience, right? Number one is personal precision in content creation. When you know your audience interests, pain points, and aspirations, you can craft content that speaks directly to them. This ensures your message is relevant and valuable rather than just noise. We talked about how that if you are not precise with how you're creating, if you're not precise in understanding your target audience, your content is just going to be everywhere, right? And what happens is that your message will not be relevant. And it will just be like another person on the internet putting out stuff online, right? And that is not what you want. And this happens when you do not understand your audience interest. But when you understand your audience interest, pinpoint aspirations. It's as if every time you put out content, it always resonates. And there are people like that on the internet, right? That put out specific content every time. There's always engagement. Every time people resonate with it. One of such people, even though she's not a video content creator primarily, but she's a content creator, is Phoenix Black. I don't know if you know who Phoenix Black is, but she talks about love and relationships. She does it in write. She uses writing formats to communicate, and I can assure you that every time she puts out something, it always resonates with me because I'm part of her community as well. So precision in content creation is super important. You have to be able to know that these are the kind of things that my audience like, and you have to find ways to repeatedly do those things in different ways, right? Then number two is stronger engagement and connection, right? People engage with content that feels personal and relatable. Now, the more you understand your target audience, beyond just having precision in the kind of content that they will like, is that the more they find your content interesting and relatable, they are also been building a certain form of bond with you, such that they begin to trust what you are saying, they begin to enjoy what you are putting out, and then before you know, they become fans that also share your posts or also want to share your content. And before you know, they feel like they're a part of something bigger, and that is how communities are formed. So, stronger engagement and connection is one of the benefits of understanding your target audience, and it's one of the benefits when you prioritize creating content for your target audience as opposed to just creating content for content's sake. Now, another reason why you need to understand is for better marketing and conversion rates, right? A well defined persona allows you to target the right audience with precision, leading to better conversion rates. Whether it's social media content, campaigns, or ads, knowing your audience helps you create compelling calls to action that drive results. Now, when it comes to marketing, right, we don't even joke with audience. Now, when we talk about audience persona, we're also talking about buyer persona. There have been different names that there are different names for it. Buyer persona, audience persona, you know, target audience, all of that stuff. The whole point of what an audience is that you have a specific people that your content is for. That's just what audience is about. So you have specific people you're targeting with your content, specific people you want to attract, retain, and nurture. If you can still remember my first definition of strategic content, the whole idea of strategic content is to attract, retain, and nurture as well, right? So when it comes to marketing, you want to ensure that your content is not only attracting, but it is also nurturing people so that they can be retained as customers. So that is my that is a marketing trick right there, right? The whole essence of content is that it's able to pass through the awareness. Remember our primary goals for content. Awareness is able to pass to, you know, it's able to pass to engagement, to conversion, and then establish you as an authority on it, which is branding. So that is basically it. You want to ensure that you know who you are speaking to, so that by the time you've nurtured them, these same people will be able to, patronize or buy whatever you are offering because they feel like they trust you, they feel like you are knowledgeable, they feel like you get them. Then number four is efficient resource allocation. Instead of wasting time and resources creating content for everyone, defining a persona helps you to focus on the people who truly matter to your brand. This leads to higher ROI on your content and marketing efforts. Now, the reason why I keep talking about marketing and content is because one of the things I said when I started, if I can remember clearly, is that I said content is something that is a term under the digital marketing umbrella. You cannot take away content from marketing. And to a large extent, everybody who uses content in any form of way is trying to sell something. And so marketing is definitely involved in content. In fact, the original term for content is content marketing. That is using content to promote a product, a service, or an offer that you have. So a lot of times we waste time and resources creating content, doing all of these things. But because we do not have a niche target audience, what happens is that we're just wasting time. Because today you're talking to A, tomorrow you're talking to B, tomorrow you're talking to C. In one page, you have many things. And I mean, it's okay for you to want to share a number of things on as a content creator, right? But they have to be interconnected in such a way that it is organized. Not that today you are a realtor, tomorrow you are a realtor, then tomorrow you are doing something else. Like it has to be interconnected. There's a way you can holistically put different things together to be able to that even when someone comes to your page or when someone bumps into whatever content that is out there, they can at least tell what you're about. It is so important. The next thing is to talk about the key elements of an audience persona. So when it comes to talking about key elements of an audience persona or a buyer persona as used in some cases, one of the things you need to pay attention to is there are certain things you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention to demographics, psychographics, pain points and challenges, content preferences, and online behavior. Why? Because I'm assuming that we are creating content for the online space, right? So you have to pay attention to all of these factors. Now, when we talk about demographics, what are we actually talking about, right? So demographics refer to quantifiable characteristics of a population, like quantifiable. So we're talking about in terms of age, gender, location, occupation, income level, right? These are quantifiable characteristics of your target audience to help you to understand, you know, to help you understand them better. Want to understand, okay, what age group are you even talking to? Are your target audience male or female? Are they more female than male? Right? Are you targeting a particular location? Let's say, for instance, I mean, if you're a content creator, chances are you're not targeting a particular location, but you also want to amplify where your primary location is because there could be brands who want to work with you strictly based on because you reside around them, right? If you see some of these job postings, you see them saying preferably Lagos, preferably Abuja, preferably Nairobi, preferably Kenya, preferably Ghana. That's because a lot of times brands can also want to hire people based on based on your location, right? So it's important you also have your primary location so that you can also, maximize that and use that as well. So you want to know where your target audience resides the most, their occupation, their income level. Then when it comes to psychographies, we're focusing on qualitative aspects related to people's behavior. So not quantitative now, qualitative. So we're talking about traits, we're talking about personality, we're talking about values, we're talking about beliefs, right? All of these are very important when it comes to the key elements of an audience persona. Now, it is so important for you to prioritize demographics and psychographics when it comes to analyzing your target audience. In marketing, demographics helps us, it helps us, demographics and psychographics helps us to understand to enable us to tailor messaging that resonates emotionally with the au- with with the audience. Demographics helps us adjust the tone, format, and platforms used for communication. It can also help you improve your product as well if you have a product. This is for marketing now, right? And it's also most important. Another thing again is that it helps you for effective ad campaigns. You want to run ads on your services as a content creator, you should be able to understand the demographics and psychographics of of your audience so that you can be able to run effective and ads as well. So these two things are super important. Then we have pain points and challenges. This simply refers to the problem, to the problems that your target audience are dealing with, right? To the problems your target audience are dealing with. I'm going to give you an example of, diving into your a proper persona on the next slide. Then the next thing is what preferences. Do these people do they consume blogs? Do they watch videos more? Right? And what are they? What platform do they utilize? Another thing again is online behavior, right? How they act basically online. What is their I talked about consumer psychology. Where do they spend their time? What platforms do they use as well? right? So these are some of the things you need to pay attention to when it comes to creating an audience persona, right, in your content creation business. So an example is Lola. So remember I spoke about how that we have to dive into the demographics, right? So in this case, age, location, and occupation are under demographics, right? Age 25, location is that she resides in Lagos, Nigeria. Occupation is that she's a freelance social media manager and part-time customer service rep. So what are our goals based on what she does? She wants to build a strong personal brand, grow engagement, and monetize content. Now, what will be the challenge of Lola? Lola will most likely struggle with consistency, low engagement, self-doubt, and content planning. Now, how was I able to define the challenges that Lola may possibly have? It is based on the goals that she has. She said that she wanted to build a strong personal brand, grow engagement, and monetize content. So most likely the challenges that Lola might face is struggles with consistency, low engagement, self-doubt, and content planning because if she had good engagement, then our goal would not be to grow engagement, right? And possible things that might come in the way is self-doubt and content planning and struggles with consistency. Then online behavior. She's active on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Follows top creators, prefers short form videos. So if you prefer short form videos, they need simple content strategies, engagement tips, scheduling arc, and community support. So you can see that our needs are derived from what our challenges are. And our challenges are that you feel like Lola might have is based off the goals you think your target audience would want to have because you have an idea. You are the only one who have the idea of what you want to consistently show up online as, right? So from that, you can now, mentally create a target audience persona that reflects some of the things that you want to solve, and also that helps you pay attention to the most likely person you're trying to reach online. And that's the whole idea of target audience. Now, this is just how would I put it now? This is such a brief summary in terms of when it comes to creating your persona. It is way deeper than this. I do this professionally, and I can tell you that it is way deeper than this. You have to keep going deeper and deeper in answering these questions, just so that you are able to ascertain good data that you can work with when it comes to your audience, and you can be able to create better content for them. The next thing is audience needs, right? How do you identify the needs of your target audience? Of course, that would also require you to, create an audience persona. But in creating an audience persona, you need some data to also help you answer some questions so that you don't just mentally just create an idea. Like your audience persona has to be based on research, observation, and to identify the needs of your audience, you can do that by conducting surveys and polls, monitor comments, DMs, and discussions. I spoke about how that from the comment section you can have ideas, right? And then study search inquiries and trending topics. I gave you an example that on Google, most likely they'll suggest trending topics to you and leverage that for your content and whatnot. So in creating your target audience persona, you would also have to go deep, 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 deep in answering these questions, like I already stated, so that you'll be able to create content that resonates. Now let's talk about creating content that resonates, right? So first and foremost, content that resonates has an emotional connection with your target audience. I think I've mentioned this that the right kind of content will evoke emotions, right? So people engage with content that make them feel something. When it's inspiration, humor, curiosity, or relatability, emotions drive deeper connections and encourage interaction. So, what you want to do intentionally is to be to create content that resonates is that prioritize building an emotional connection. This is why I said so. I think a model back that look when it comes to creating content, instead of telling, show more than tell. It works more, and that is where video content comes in, right? Show more than tell. It always works, right? So you want to tell stories in order to achieve emotional connection. You want to tell stories Personal stories or relatable experience make content more engaging. You want to use good visuals, expressive images, videos, and GIFs, GIFs, right, to amplify emotions. Then you want to also tap into shared experiences, address common struggles, wins, and aspiration. Then encourage interaction, ask thought-provoking questions to spark conversations. So if you want to build an emotional connection with your target audience, you need to prioritize storytelling. You need to, you know, I mean, you don't have to have it all figured out with content tools or visuals, but start somewhere. Then tap into shared experiences. You have a win. Go ahead and share us in the most interesting ways. You have a struggle. Go ahead and share with us in the most interesting way, right? Then encourage interaction by asking thought-provoking questions to spark conversations. This is solid way of building an emotional connection with your target audience. Then the next thing you want to pay attention to when it comes to creating content that resonates is your tone and style. Have you ever watched a content and you just love the content because of the person's style, because of the person's tone, because of the way the person does their content? And that's another thing. When it comes to creating content, you have to pay attention that your personality will be infused, right? So you want to also make your personality interesting. Not that you are going to change your personality. I mean, you can show up the way you are, but just know that people are not just falling in love because of what you are saying or because of the visuals, but they're also falling in love with your personality. That is why we have fans. That's why these content creators have followers. Because another thing again is that they are seeing someone that they want to be like. So in creating content, you also want to position yourself as someone that is admirable, right? While also being yourself. So when it comes to your tone and style, your content should feel natural to your audience. Understanding your audience persona helps shape the right tone and style. So there are different tones when it comes to brand, right? There's the formal tone, there's the conversational tone, there's the playful and witty tone, there's the instructive and informative. So you want to ask yourself, what tone should my brand have, right? What tone does my brand have? I like to think that my own brand has a sort of conversational tone, right? I wouldn't say I'm the most humorous person, someone who has the most humor, right? But I would say that I'm very conversational in my content. I'm trying to put out content that will get people to pause and think. And this works well for personal brands and engagement driven posts, right? I would always want people to, I prefer to put out content that will get people talking. Then there's instructive and informative, which is best for educational content and thought leadership. Then there's the format tone. A lot of times, the format tone works on LinkedIn. When you get on LinkedIn, you want to ensure that you have a format tone to your captions or to whatever content that you are creating as well. The next thing is to talk about competitor analysis. The reason why we need to talk about competitor analysis is that when it comes to doing anything worthwhile, you have to, check out what works in your industry and the people who have been there ahead. So let's say you want to be a content creator and there's a particular kind of content creator you want to be. What you want to do is observe people who are creating the same kind of content that you are creating and the same kind of content you want to create rather, or that want to show up online the way you do, or want to use their content creation skills the way you do. You want to study them and ask yourself how are they getting things done, right? And that is what competitor analysis is. Competitors have already tested what works, so it is important to leverage their successes and gaps. And how to conduct competitor research is identify top competitors. Who are the top content creators that you admire? Analyze their most engaging content. And what do you do after that? You observe the audience reactions. You observe how they shoot their content. You observe how they edit their content. Are there specific things that they do in their content? Whether it's in editing, visuals, or in the way they communicate, their hooks and all of those things. Are there specific things that they do that makes you know that makes it amazing? Those are the things you want to be looking at, because those are the things you want to pay attention to. That's that every artist has its own have their, like I say this, that every artist have their own unique code embedded in it. So you want to find out the subtle things that are doing that no other person is doing that is making them to stand out, right? Then you want to also observe audience reactions, right? Then find content gaps they are missing. Now, the truth is, when you pay attention to what other people are doing for the purpose of analysis, not comparison, you will not be able to find out that there are loopholes that they are probably not covering that you can now leverage on and build on. Now, if everybody is doing exactly the same thing, you want to find out what are people not doing. Yes, you found out that they're all doing it, and you've also gained insights from what they are doing. But what else are they not doing that you can do and add to what you've already decided to do to stand out? That is the essence of content competitor analysis. So let's see, for example, let's say if competitors focus on blog posts but neglect video content, that may be an opportunity for differentiation. I just put this here as sample, right? Let's say your competitors, there's a particular style of editing everybody in your niche is using. What if you decide to come up with another niche? These are some of the things you want to always look for opportunities for differentiation when it comes to your content. Always look for opportunities to be able to say, okay, for people to be able to say, okay, this is Ajiri's content, okay, this is Tina's content, okay, this is success content. It is super, super important, right? And then we also need to talk about when it comes to audience analysis, we need to talk about tools for audience analysis. This is also kind of like closely related to the tools for content creation or for research as well. Pardon me. So we have Google Analytics, right? You want to ensure that you understand how to use Google Analytics. It's kind of like if I analyzes website traffic insights. That is for those people who are doing content creation in a big scale and you have a website. You want to look at, Facebook and Instagram insight. Every social media platform has their own insight to track, what is going on. You wanted to look at Twitter, the same thing for Twitter as well. They have their own embedded analytics system. You also want to look at YouTube Studio, just the same analytics systems, right? Embedded in some of these platforms. Then I remember talking about Answer the Public when it came to idea generation. So you also want to use this, right? Answer the Public doesn't just give you ideas; it also shows you behaviors, right? In your audience, what your audience are searching for, what they are asking, and all of that can contribute to you for you understanding what your target audience is about, right? And that is basically it. So far we've been able to talk about, you know, um, understanding why you need to understand your target audience. We've been able to define what an audience persona is. We've been able to look at content that resonates and how you can create content that resonates. We've been able to look at competitor analysis. We've been able to look at tools for audience analysis, and that will bring us automatically to the end of this module. I hope you understand, and it was simple enough for you to digest and for you to also drop your questions, in the group, and I would be responding. I think that there's an assessment we can discuss inside the group. Thank you.